everyone. We're here to get my microphone on. Here to consider House File 2694. And so I will call the subcommittee meeting to order for that bill. The bill prohibits the governor from closing, placing a mandate on, or otherwise regulating a place or practice of worship for any reason, including the proclamation of a disaster emergency or public health disaster. Definitions of what a place of worship is, and so forth. And if memory serves me correctly, that's the original form that the bill was offered. And if I understand right, the House amended that bill to include a provision that speaks to vaccination for folks. So, with that, I will, well, and I have an amendment here, just to get the cards on the table. I have an amendment here that will strike out the vaccination provision of this House legislation, so for consideration by our subcommittee. So with that introduction, I will turn to my colleagues, Senator Vizcaino and Senator Schultz, to see if they have any questions or comments to ask before we move forward.
Not yet, Mr. Chair.
No, I don't have anything to say.
Okay. So with that, we'll go through the normal process here of listening, hearing the public's input on this bill. And young man, I guess we'll start with you. Introduce yourself and tell us what your view is on this.
So my name is Jeremiah Larry. I live in Belin, Iowa, Wright County, and I would like to strongly.
It wasn't.
It is on there.
Appreciate that.
I would like to strongly encourage the subcommittee to pass this legislation because I personally suffered heavily under abuse of emergency management powers in Maine, where we lived through the COVID crisis. We were threatened with a $1,000 fine or 6 months in jail for going to church with more than 10 people. We have 11 people in my family, so we were illegal no matter how we cut it. And my dad had to feed us, and we were under significant threats, significant punishment if we exercised our First Amendment rights, specifically because of this emergency management powers that the governor had, and there was really no restraint or recourse. And I just don't want to see the same thing happen in Iowa. I don't want to make the same mistake again.
Sorry, you said you were in Maine?
In 2020, yes.
All right. Very good. Go on. We'll just pass that around.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Fitz, speaking for the Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition. Thanks for the chance to speak today. We do support the bill. Don't close churches, period. That's our position. Honest bodies of believers practicing their faith should never be strong-armed by governmental forces into closing, temporarily or otherwise. Not for COVID-19 and not for any other reason. If a church decides to close because it's dangerous, it can, voluntarily. If people desire to steer clear, they will of their own volition. The church is the body of Christ, and how that body is treated is no trivial matter. Please pass the bill. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Tom Chapman with the Iowa Catholic Conference and represent the Catholic bishops in the state. We're registered in support of the bill. My comments are about Section 1, which was the original bill, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to decide for ourselves as a Catholic Church whether it's appropriate to meet or not in an emergency. So, thank you.
Can you just pass it on? Oh, then take it from the or okay. Thank you.
That appears to be it in terms of public input in the room. How about online? Do we have anybody online who would like to raise your hand electronically and join? Yes, Lindsay Marr, you have the floor.
Great, thank you so much, Senators. Lindsay Maynard on behalf of Informed Choice Iowa. We are in support of this bill as it is originally written, not with the new amendment. We also look forward to further conversations because we do think this needs to go further to further reform the public health disaster chapter, which is section 135.144. Former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr said it best: the Constitution is not suspended during times of crisis. Our founders didn't just believe that, they lived it during the first 30 years of our nation and included the suspension of liberties under Article 1 for only very specific instances by Congress, not the executive branch, and similarly in Article 1 in Iowa's Constitution under the Bill of Rights as authorized by the legislature. This bill is simple in that it prevents the governor from deciding whose livelihood should be shut down during a time of emergency, prevents them from requiring a vaccine that will be immune from liability for the injuries it causes under either the PrEP Act or the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act. And it prevents the governor from closing churches and places of worship over which they have no authority. Religious liberty, bodily autonomy or personal property, and the right to pursue happiness and liberty and the ownership of one's own business are all rights protected by the Constitution. Please support this bill as it is currently written and commit to further reform in the future years because unelected directors of state agencies nor a governor should ever have the authority to force health tests and treatments onto our citizens as it is currently written in Public Health Disaster Chapter 135.144. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Are there other members of the public that want to speak to this online? If so, raise your hand electronically. Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'm gonna move on here, and now we're back to my two colleagues here for further discussion. Senator Bisignano, well, before you speak, I'm going to recommend passage of the bill, but with an amendment to strike out the vaccination provision of the House bill, and I do that as much as anything as a practical matter. We have a second funnel deadline. We have, and I'm not sure that I'm not prepared to have a thorough discussion on the vaccination thing. Freedom of worship that was abridged in the COVID year was difficult for a lot of Iowans, including me. So with that, that's my intention here is to recommend passage with an amendment to strike out the vaccination provision. So Senator Bisignano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm opposed to the bill. The reason it's very simple is I don't believe we should take the powers from the governor to make decisions in times of public health and disasters. I don't believe, as someone said here, that the church itself is the body of Christ. I believe the members are the body of Christ. The church is a building. I don't see anything here that infringes on your right to express, pray in your home during disasters. But I think when we start picking and choosing, when we want to have separation of church and state, I have a problem with that. We either have separation of church and state, and we act accordingly, or we don't. And I think that to tie the hands of the governor, who's responsible for the safety and well-being of the citizens of the state, that we shouldn't do that. And I don't see the reaction or the overreaction. This bill to me is an overreaction. It's tearing off scabs of old wounds. It's a religious issue that I don't think needs to be decided here. And I don't believe that the church should infringe on the government. And when a national disaster or state disaster, and in the best interest of its citizens, that's what the governor's for, and the agencies that are there to protect you. So this is a pick and choose. I don't necessarily appreciate that kind of politics, and for that reason I will oppose it.
Senator Schultz.
Thank you. I will sign because I also don't want it to fail to pass subcommittee. I prefer to sign the bill without amendment, but my signature is going to be there because I want this to move forward, and I'll follow the chair.
Okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn the subcommittee meeting, and I thank you all for joining the conversation. Thank you.